Just east of the St. Louis Civil Courts building is the Freedom Suits Memorial. 13 stories up, you will find the Law Library. And that's where you'll find a special exhibit about the history of those enslaved people who had the courage to challenge their owners and the slavery system by going to court to sue for their freedom.
So I wanted to make sure that that was leading off so people would see.
Bill Glenkler with the Missouri State Archives put the exhibit together. It's a small exhibit, 4 panels, and under glass in this case, 3 original legal documents, 2 from the 1840s, 1 from 1826. And it was with these filings that the freedom suit began.
Correct. That's the initial petition where they would, the enslaved person would lay out his or her reason why I should be free.
There were several arguments you could make: that you were born free and wrongfully enslaved, a previous owner had freed you, or you had been taken for a time to live in free territory. That was the argument made in the most famous freedom suit filed by Dred and Harriet Scott. But for the last 25 years or so, researchers and scholars have been turning their attention to the 300 or so freedom suits that aren't so famous, and not because of the legal history, but because of the human history. And what kind of condition are those documents in?
They're in remarkably good condition. Some of the older ones from like the 1820s or so, we had to do we sent them off to do some conservation work, but for the most part, they're in very good shape. They were folded up and kept in metal till drawers for 150, 200 years, and they just kind of sat there.
But these original documents are really the closest you get to their voices. A lot of that gets lost as the process goes on.
That's exactly that's one of the things that actually took my breath away when I first started working with these court records. It rescues these lives from history. A lot of research has been done on the legal culture of it, which is all necessary. But these tell us a lot about the people.
All this is what led to the movement to honor with memorial those who had sued for their freedom and those who helped them. It was unveiled at the Civil Courts building in 2022 after a campaign led by Circuit Judge David Mason.
The thing is, it was sort of undiscovered history. And because it was undiscovered history, it was a long time getting people to understand the impact of it. Hundreds had petitioned and won, hundreds had petitioned and lost. But St. Louis was sort of a hotbed of this type of litigation. There were other cities where you had some litigation like this, but everybody knew in St. Louis the courts were going to respect a slave's right to be free if in fact the evidence showed it. In the years since, word has gotten out not only locally but nationally, and there have been a number of national historians they've written books and things like that. And in the historical community, it's become a big deal.
The cases were filed by
University of Iowa legal scholar Lee Vandervelde discovered the freedom suits while researching her biography of Harriet Scott. That led to a second book, Redemption Songs, Suing for Freedom Before Dred Scott.
It's 9 families from St. Louis, each with a different posture in terms of their freedom suit. And each of them reads like a short story.
One of the names that comes up in those suits is the most prominent name in the city of St. Louis, the Chouteau family, founders of the city. They were involved in fighting freedom suits, including the Dred and Harriet Scott case.
For them, it was really a mission. They had several slaves who were suing them. In this context, it's the Chouteaus who are going to be the losers of the issue of slavery. Not just monetarily, they're losing it for their entire empire. And they were dug in. This was a mission for them to fight the Dred Scott case, even though they only had a really shoestring connection to Dred through Sanford, who was a Chouteau son-in-law, to fight it to win.
The scholars, I suppose, are coming to you on a fairly regular basis to look into this stuff.
Well,
right?
We'd like to see more people come look at it. It is a valuable, they haven't been mined to their full potential yet.
The exhibit will be on display and open to the public in the Civil Courts Law Library until December 3rd, and then will be available to travel around the state. But if you miss it, there is still the Freedom Suits Memorial outside, with the list of the hundreds of St. Louisans whose stories are only now just being told. For Living St. Louis, I'm Jim Kircher.